In 1947, a drifting merchant ship was discovered in the Indian Ocean. When rescuers boarded the vessel, they found every crew member dead, scattered across the decks with eyes wide open and faces frozen in terror. Yet the ship itself showed no signs of battle, fire, or damage. No blood, no injuries, no explanation. To this day, the fate of the SS Orang Madan remains one of the most chilling mysteries in maritime history. The Strait of Malacca, stretching between the Malay Peninsula and Sumatra, has long been one of the busiest shipping routes on Earth. Linking the Indian and Pacific Oceans, it serves as a critical gateway between nations such as China, India, and Japan. Hundreds of ships pass through the narrow channel daily, transporting massive quantities of global trade. But despite its importance, the strait has always carried a sinister reputation. For centuries, pirates hunted vessels through its crowded waters, hiding among the coastline's countless inlets and islands. Even today, it remains one of the world's most dangerous maritime corridors. Sudden storms, hidden reefs, shifting currents, and heavy congestion have claimed countless ships over the years. Sailors have long whispered stories about ghost vessels drifting through the fog and strange lights gliding across the horizon. More than 30 ships disappeared in or near these waters during the last century alone. Yet none became as infamous as the Orang Madan. In June 1947, merchant ships in the region intercepted a terrifying SOS signal transmitted in Morse code. All officers, including Captain, dead, lying in chart room and bridge. Possibly whole crew dead. Moments later, another message followed. I die. Then silence. The sender gave no ship name, no location, and no identification. Radio operators across Southeast Asia listened in shock as the signal disappeared forever. British and Dutch listening stations eventually triangulated the transmission to a remote stretch of the Indian Ocean far from established shipping lanes. Several ships were asked to investigate, but few were willing to answer what many feared was a ghost signal. Eventually, the American merchant vessel Silver Star altered course toward the coordinates. Captain Charles W. Moore immediately ordered full speed ahead. By the following afternoon, lookouts spotted a freighter drifting motionless on the horizon. As the Silver Star approached, the ship's name became visible. SS Orang Madan. The vessel appeared intact. There was no smoke, no damage, and no sign of distress. But there was also no movement. No crew stood on deck. No response came from the bridge or radio room. The engines were silent as the ship drifted lifelessly with the tide. After repeated attempts to contact the crew failed, Captain Moore ordered a boarding party to investigate. The moment the rescuers stepped aboard, they sensed something was wrong. The air felt unnaturally cold despite the tropical heat surrounding the ship. Then they found the bodies. The first corpse lay sprawled beside the forward hatch, eyes staring upward and mouth frozen open in terror. Nearby, another sailor lay on his back with arms raised defensively, as though shielding himself from something unseen. Every crew member appeared trapped in the same expression of horror. Bodies littered the decks and corridors in twisted, unnatural positions. Even the ship's dog was found dead, rigid and snarling. Yet none of the victims showed visible injuries. There were no wounds, bruises, or signs of struggle. Whatever killed them had left no physical evidence behind. On the bridge, the captain was discovered collapsed near the wheel. In the chart room, officers sat beside unfinished logbooks. Inside the radio cabin, the operator remained seated at his station with one hand near the Morse key, as though he had died while transmitting the final distress message. But the most disturbing detail was the condition of the bodies themselves. Although only hours had passed since the SOS signal, the corpses reportedly appeared badly decomposed. Their skin looked discolored and burned, as if exposed to intense heat. Yet the air aboard the ship remained freezing cold. Thermometers reportedly measured temperatures nearly 30 degrees colder than the surrounding ocean environment. The boarding parties searched the lower decks, but found no survivors and no clear explanation. The engine room appeared normal. The cargo holds were undamaged. As the investigation continued, Several rescuers later admitted they felt overwhelming dread aboard the vessel. One described it as though the ship itself was holding its breath. Within the hour, Captain Moore ordered preparations to tow the Orang Madan back to port. But before the operation could begin, smoke suddenly started rising from one of the cargo holds. First, the crew assumed it was steam. Then the smoke thickened rapidly, carrying the sharp odor of burning chemicals. Fearing an explosion, Captain Moore immediately ordered the boarding team back to the Silver Star. The rescuers barely escaped in time. Moments later, a massive explosion ripped through the Orang Madan. Witnesses claimed the entire hull lifted from the water before splitting apart. The blast shattered windows aboard the Silver Star and sent debris crashing across the sea. Within seconds, the mysterious freighter was engulfed in flames. Then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the Orang Madan slipped beneath the surface of the Indian Ocean. No trace of the ship was ever recovered. The story first appeared publicly in a 1952 United States Coast Guard circular describing one of the strangest maritime incidents ever recorded. Since then, countless theories have attempted to explain what happened aboard the doomed vessel. One of the most mysterious details is the complete lack of official records connected to the ship. The Orang Madan appears nowhere in Dutch shipping archives, international registries, or maritime databases. Some skeptics believe this proves the story was entirely fabricated. Others argue the vessel may have sailed under a false registry. Following World War II, smugglers and intelligence agencies often used unregistered ships to transport illegal or classified cargo. Ships were frequently renamed, their paperwork forged, and their ownership erased. If the Orang Madan operated secretly, its disappearance from official records would make sense. In 1954, German writer Otto Mielke proposed that the ship had been carrying hazardous chemicals, including potassium cyanide and nitroglycerin. According to this theory, seawater may have reacted with the cyanide, releasing deadly gas throughout the vessel. The unstable chemicals could then have ignited, causing the final explosion. Others suggested carbon monoxide poisoning, methane gas, or leaking fuel vapors. But another theory focused on the terrifying expressions found on the victims' faces. Some researchers argued the symptoms resembled exposure to nerve agents. During World War II, Nazi Germany developed deadly chemicals such as taboon, capable of causing paralysis, convulsions, and death within minutes. Victims often died with muscles locked in spasm and faces frozen in terror. After the war, both the United States and Soviet Union secretly transported captured chemical weapons around the world. Some believe the Orang Madan may have been carrying illegal nerve agents under a false identity. A leak could have killed the crew almost instantly, while the later explosion destroyed the evidence. If true, governments involved would have had strong reasons to erase all records connected to the vessel. Of course, not every explanation involves chemical weapons. Some claim pirates attacked the ship using poison gas. Others blame radioactive cargo or underwater methane eruptions. A few even suggest paranormal causes, believing the crew encountered something so horrifying it caused mass panic and sudden death. Yet none of the theories explain every detail. The frozen expressions, the freezing temperatures, the rapid decomposition, the explosion, and perhaps most unsettling of all, the silence surrounding the case. No families came forward. No insurance claims were filed. No nation launched an official investigation. For a ship supposedly carrying dozens of sailors, the complete absence of records remains deeply disturbing. Over the decades, researchers searched for evidence of the Orang Madan's existence. No wreck has ever been found. No verified photographs survive. No confirmed crew manifests exist. Even the ship's name may have been false. Still, the legend refuses to disappear. The story contains all the elements of a perfect mystery, a desperate distress signal, a ship full of terrified corpses, a violent explosion, and then complete disappearance. It also reflected the fears of the late 1940s, an era shaped by Cold War secrecy, experimental weapons, and growing paranoia. Perhaps the Orang Madan was a smuggling vessel destroyed by its own deadly cargo. Perhaps it was part of a classified military operation erased from history. Or perhaps it was simply a sailor's ghost story that evolved into legend. Whatever the truth may be, one fact remains unchanged. Nobody who boarded that ship survived long enough to explain what truly happened. And the ocean, as always, keeps its secrets.